Hello friends, now we are going to discuss about the tools of recombinant DNA technology. Now we know that genetic engineering or a recombinant DNA technology can be accomplished only if we have certain key tools with us. For example, we should have restriction enzymes, we should have polymerase enzymes, we should have ligases, we should have vectors, and we should have a host organism in which we can transfer the rDNA. So we will see one by one the importance of these tools. The first tool, that is restriction enzymes. The most important tool. In year 1963, the two enzymes responsible for restricting the growth of bacteriophage, that is a virus that is infecting bacteria. The scientists found that there are two different enzymes that are restricting the growth of bacteriophages when they were studying the bacteriophage in E. coli. And they isolated these two enzymes. One of these enzymes was stopping the growth of bacteriophage by adding methyl group to DNA, while the other was cutting the DNA of bacteriophage. The latter was called as restriction endonuclease enzyme. The first restriction endonuclease was characterized by the scientists, and it was given the name HIND2, H-I-N-D Roman 2, H capital, I-N-D small, Roman 2. That is how enzymes are given the names that we have discussed last time. So this HIND2, its function depended on the specific DNA nucleotide sequence, was isolated and characterized 5 years later. It was found that HIND2 always cut DNA of bacteriophage at a particular point by recognizing a specific sequence of 6 base pairs on that strand. Such specific base recognizing a specific sequence of 6 base pairs was known as a recognition sequence for enzyme HIND2. Now there are more than 900 such restriction enzymes that have been characterized and isolated from over 230 strains of bacteria, each of which could recognize different recognition sequences. There is convention for nomenclature of these enzymes too, just like the convention for viruses or bacteria. So the convention of naming these enzymes is the first letter of the name that comes from the genus from which this enzyme was isolated. For example, in HIND2, it is Haemophilus genus. And the second two small letters come from the name of species name of that particular bacteria from which this enzyme is isolated. Now, for example, EcoR1, that is E capital, CO small, R capital, 1 Roman. This E comes from genus Escherichia. CO comes from the species coli. And the letter R is derived from the name of the strain of bacteria. Roman number following this name indicates the order in which these enzymes were isolated from that particular strain of bacteria. 1 means the first enzyme that was isolated from this E. coli strain. Actually, restriction enzymes belong to a larger class of enzymes called as nucleases. These are of two types of nucleases, exonucleases and endonucleases. Exonucleases can remove nucleotides from the cut ends of bacteria, cut ends of DNA of bacteria, whereas endonucleases can remove nucleotides from a particular specific location on that DNA. Endonucleases make cuts in between at precisely specific positions within the DNA. Each restriction endonuclease functions by inspecting the length of DNA strand at a complete length of DNA strand is inspected by the enzyme, and then it binds that DNA at a spot, a specific spot, and then cuts each of the two strands of the double helix at a specific points in their sugar phosphate backbones. Each restriction endonuclease can recognize a specific palindromic nucleotide sequence in DNA helix. You know very well that DNA helix has a specific arrangement of nucleotides, and wherever there is palindromic arrangement of nucleotides on opposite strands, that particular specific location is recognized by a particular enzyme. Generally, palindrome is used for the words in English in which group of letters form a same word when we read it both forward and backward. For example, Malayalam, spelling Malayam. If you read it from this side also, it is Malayam. So this is called as palindrome. The palindrome in DNA is a sequence of base pairs that reads same on the two strands when orientation of reading is kept the same. For example, nucleotide sequences in DNA we read from 5 to 3 end or 3 to 5 end. Now, the DNA when read on this strand which are opposite from 5 to 3 direction, which is also true if we read it from 3 to 5 direction if it is a palindrome. For example, GAATTC is on one strand when we read it from 5 to 3 end. Same way, on the opposite strand, if you read from 3 to 5 end, it is CTTAAG. That is, if you read the reverse, it becomes same as that of this strand. That is called as palindrome sequence. Restriction enzymes cut the strand of DNA at a little away from the center of palindrome sites, but between the same two bases on the opposite strands. This leaves single-stranded portions at the ends. There are overchanging stretches on the cut ends. Now suppose this is a cut end, you will find the overhanging stretch, and this overhanging stretch can combine with the strand having the palindrome sequence. These ends, cut ends, are called as sticky ends on each strand. These are named so because they form hydrogen bonds with their complementary cut counterparts. This stickiness of the ends facilitates the action of enzyme DNA ligase. Restriction endonucleases are used in genetic engineering to form recombinant molecules of DNA, which are composed of DNA from different sources or genomes. When cut by the same restriction enzyme, the resultant DNA fragments have the same kind of sticky ends, and this can be joined together end to end using DNA ligases. So now we can also realize that unless one cuts the vector and the source DNA both with the same restriction enzyme, the recombinant vector molecule cannot be created. Separation and isolation of DNA fragments. The cutting of DNA by restriction endonucleases results in the fragments of DNA. These fragments can be separated by technique known as electrophoresis. How we can separate and isolate DNA fragments if those are cut by the enzymes. That is what I am going to discuss here. The cutting of DNA by restriction endonucleases results in the fragments of DNA. These fragments can be separated by a technique known as gel electrophoresis. We have learned about the gel electrophoresis in our immunology course also. Since DNA fragments are negatively charged molecules, they can be separated by forcing them to move towards the anode under an electric field through a medium or a matrix, that is gel matrix we use here. Nowadays, the most commonly used matrix is agarose, which is a natural polymer extracted from seaweeds. The DNA fragments separate according to their sizes through sieving or moving through the agarose pores. Hence, the smaller the fragment, the farther it moves from the end of the gel where the sample was loaded. The separated DNA fragments can be visualized only after staining these DNA fragments with a stain or a compound that is known as ethidium bromide. When we want to see it in the gel, after the DNA fragments are separated, they are actually colorless things, and we have to stain the gel with ethidium bromide. We have to stain DNA with ethidium bromide while loading on the gel, so that it can be seen in the gel visually. For looking the strands in the gel, we have to expose the gel under the UV light, and in the UV light, this ethidium bromide, it shows a fluorescence. Separated bands of DNA, when exposed to UV light, can be seen as bright orange colored bands. The separated bands of DNA are cut out from the agar gel and extracted from the gel piece to separate the DNAs. This step is known as elution. The DNA fragments purified in this way are used in constructing recombinant DNA by joining them with the cloning vectors. What are the cloning vectors? Vectors have also got the nomenclature like that of restriction enzymes we have discussed in the restriction enzyme topic. For example, vector plasmid P small Br capital 322 in E. coli. We will see its details later on, how this convention of nomenclature is there. Now we know that plasmids and bacteriophages have the ability to replicate within the bacterial cells independent of its original chromosome DNA. Bacteriophages, because of their high number per cell, can have a very high number of copies of their genome when they replicate in the bacterial cell. Some plasmids may have 1 or 2 copies per cell when the plasmid replicates in the bacteria. Some plasmids may have around 15 to 100 copies per cell. Their numbers can go even higher in some cases. If we are able to link an alien or foreign piece of DNA with bacteriophage DNA or plasmid DNA, we can multiply its number with that bacteriophage DNA or plasmid DNA when it multiplies in the bacterial cell, equal to the copy number of plasmid or bacteriophage that we get as the end product. Vectors used at present are engineered in such a way that they help easy linking of foreign DNA and selection of recombinants from non-recombinants. The features that are required to facilitate cloning into a vector we will see in our next topic.